UFC this past weekend. Mackenzie Dern, one of the best female Jiu Jitsu athletes in the world. I think maybe one of the best in the UFC. And she has a really amazing game. She's fantastic at omoplatas. So I want to go over the omoplata sequence that she was able to hit this past weekend, which led her into an armbar. Okay, Spence? We're gonna take it step by step, piece by piece. So we're just gonna do the entry first. The entry that was done in the fight was a little bit weird, so I'm gonna modify it a bit for something that's a little bit more consistent. She kind of found herself in a triangle position in a scramble, which I don't wanna like exactly replicate because you're not always gonna find yourself in that exact scramble. So I wanna enter with a real basic wrist control entry to get into the clamp position. Something a little bit more consistent. And the more that you drill these basic triangle entries, the more you'll see them in scrambles, okay? But let's give us a good fundamental drill to work on. So I have my opponent on both knees. I'm gonna start with the 2 C grips, and they're both going up, right? Both of my palms are like this. 1 C grip, right? There's the opening of my fingers. I wanna cover it with my palm. And now I have 2 C grips. Okay, not like this, not like this. Base of the wrist, and then cover your fingers with your other palm. This is how I want us to C grip. Next, we're getting nice and close so I can bring both feet onto the hips. From here, I'm gonna pull straight back. As I pull straight back, I'm gonna lift my hips using the foot on the hip. I have this foot here, so I'm gonna lift my hips up as I pull my partner in. I clamp over my partner's neck with the cross leg, and then my same side leg is gonna clamp over the back. Okay. From here, next thing I want to do is pull my knees in and then bring both my hands to the back of the head. In the fight, she actually did like a figure 4 lock, but any grip will do. You could figure 4, you could gable grip the back of the head, you could do a tie clinch, whatever's going to keep their head down. Okay. And this is the basic entry and the basic control we're going to work from. All right. It's really important that we grab at the crown of our partner's head and not the neck here. If I grab the neck, he can get his head up, he can really fight that well. But if I bring my weight on the top of my partner's head, I can really sag my weight on top of it, and it's very hard for them to posture out. So I think that's a really good drill. Anytime you get someone in a triangle, the first thing you should do is just manage it and make sure he doesn't escape by pulling your knees in and getting weight on the back of the head. Got our wrist, feet on the hips, lift, snatch, got him in the clamp here. Okay, we break the posture with our knees and our clinch. Next, I go to the wrist, ready to attack. Hips are up, he's posturing in. I have a 2-on-1 on this wrist. I'm gonna take one arm off, get one wrist off, and go under the leg. The reason I want this leg here is that I can use the underhook and swivel my body. What will help swivel me is to unhook my feet at this point when I'm ready to swivel. So I got one arm on the wrist, one arm on my leg. I'm gonna unhook my legs. And what's important is the leg that's behind the shoulder has to clamp down on the shoulder here. That's gonna break the posture. Okay, and look what I did here. I don't keep this in the center anymore. Now I pass it off to the hip. From here, pressure the shoulder, extend your legs, and then we're gonna sit up for the hip and the floor. Okay? So we want to get to our omoplata. We got to chop this shoulder. This pressure is the most important. You guys will get to here, and then I'm seeing trouble. You know, you guys are kind of worrying about crossing your legs, but crossing the legs won't get him down, right? He's strong. He can just posture up here. So I need to extend. I need to chop this shoulder, this extension on the back of the shoulder. This leg needs to be straight at all times. If I lose the straightness, if I bend my knee right here, he can push me back and then pass my guard really easily. Okay, so you have to chop that leg and keep your legs straight in the final position. That will put pressure on the shoulder, okay? So, when we're getting into the next move, we're here, we're getting to the omoplata, we're rotating, we're trying to chop. Okay, we have to do a chop attempt. I try and drive him down, but my partner is really strong. Now, when we do this move, we're gonna back roll over the shoulder that's next to the knee. Don't roll over this shoulder. We're going to the shoulder that's close to the underhook, okay? So I keep this wrist and I keep a clinch on my partner's shoulder here. It's actually like a squeeze, like a scissor squeeze. All right, not a triangle lock here. I need a scissor squeeze. And then I'm just gonna, I'm starting like in a ball, and then I'm gonna extend my torso as I roll over the shoulder. So see how I'm crunched up right here? That's fine to start, but when we're ready to roll, I pop my hips in, back is straight, roll. Both my knees are on the mat, okay? From here, now I can unhook my arm so it's not in his legs, find the hand to the mat. Keep this wrist until you start rotating. Now once I'm chest to chest, I can bring my knees up and find my cross face here, okay? The biggest mistake that I've seen people do is they don't control the shoulder, they control the elbow. So when I'm like this, what I've seen people do is as they back roll, they don't have a clinch on the legs and they're low. They might have a clinch, but it's like this. Now if I roll with just the elbow, this happens. This is a terrible position to be in. Why did that happen? Because I was scissoring on the elbow. I need to scissor the shoulder, okay? I'm trying to tip him over, so I need to tip him over at the highest point. And it's gonna be the shoulder. We have to keep this arm pulling in tight so we don't lose it. I try the first move, I try to chop the shoulder, but it's not working. My partner postures hard, and I go with it. Keep it. Then, face, chest to chest. Okay. So we got head and arm control off this pass. So I want to make sure this arm is in my armpit. That's really key. In my hip when I'm under the head with my cross face. All right, head and arm, basic right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working. Actually, for this one, we're not going to lock our hands. We're just going to have the cross face and we'll just have this here because we don't want to lock our hands on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing my shin across the belly. And I'm gonna creep it over top until my knee hits the mat. Once my knee hits the mat, a good opponent will try and capture my foot here in what we call 3/4 mount. In 3/4 mount, if I don't do anything, they could turn, they could push the knee down, and they could put me in a half guard. All right, so that would be a bad thing for me. So I want to knee slice across, and as I knee slice, my partner is smart and puts me in 3/4 mount. Now you have to be careful right here, let's turn a bit. You have to be careful as the person on bottom. What a lot of people do wrong is they put their hand here, which gives a big opportunity for me to control this wrist or to take an underhook right here. And it's super common, people make this big mistake. You should use your forearm and your elbow. Makes it more difficult for me to control. Not impossible, but it's a lot harder than if he pushes with the hand. So Randa Markos pushed with the hand, and that left a big opening for me to take this wrist, stuff it down, and now I go over top both the wrist and the leg, keep me in 3/4 mount. Now at this point, it's important that I shift all my weight into this knee and step up with my back leg. So I'm gonna lean on the staple and step up my leg that's behind him here. All right? Now, last thing we'll do in this drill, this wasn't in the fight, but I think this is a really easy way to finish from here. All we have to do is reach back for the wrist, push it down towards the floor, control the elbow here, and we have a nice steering wheel Kimura. Pull the elbow, push the wrist. Real easy to finish, okay? So we'll add in that pass and then finish with a basic submission right there. He sorts it this way. I'm inside control, I have my cross face here. I start to slide my knee through. It goes to the mat, and my partner captures my foot with their legs for 3/4. They try and recover half guard by pushing the knee down. But I pin the wrist down and then staple my knee over top. As I staple, I pull up the shoulder and step. All my weight here on this staple. I posture back, find the elbow, find the wrist, and pull the elbow, push the wrist. Okay. So on the last one, it's really important that we have this arm trapped here, under our arm, in between our hip, when we get to the final move. A bunch of times I saw when we're starting like this, we can still keep improving, but we're not going to be able to do that arm lock, and we're not going to be able to do the next move. So make sure before you start, come underneath here, go under the head, and make sure their arm is in between your hip and your armpit. Okay, keep it trapped. This is a really great way to control this arm. All right, if he's inside, he can start framing with it, he can start creating space, and he can start escaping. So we want to be able to control him like this, with this arm here. This is called a head and arm, but we have this arm trapped, okay? So same as before. We start knee slicing to the mount. He traps us in 3/4. He pushes the knee down. Take their wrist, pull it in, and then we staple over top of it. One thing that will help is as you're switching your weight, bring your hand under the shoulder here. That way, when I switch my weight, he doesn't just get his back on the mat, because that'll happen. Okay, because then I'll lose that. See, but if I can, it's like put the back on the mat a little bit, I want to collect this here, keeping this arm in my hip. That way, when I shift my weight, I can pull him up on his side, and I can pinch him with my legs here, and his arm is trapped in the hip. This is what I need. Okay, if you don't pull him up on his shoulder, you might have him here, but then as you start to lean your weight, you lose that, and now you don't have anything. Okay, so you gotta stay tight with it, pull him up with your whole arm, and then we're ready to attack, okay? But Mackenzie didn't do this in her fight, she went straight to the armbar. So the way she did it was, she leaned her weight towards the knee side so we can keep the pin on the arm, and then she brought this leg over. There's a few different ways to do it, but I think an easy way is just stay heavy on your knee side in your hand, and then grab your foot, okay? Now if you're flexible, you could just throw this over really easily, but I'm not very flexible, and I know a lot of people aren't, so an easy way to do it is just lean forward, lean on your hand, lean on your knee, and then grab your foot on the same side. And then nice and slow. Because I'm leaning this way, my leg is very light, and I can just bring it over the head and put your foot on the mat. Go really slow here, because you can kick your partner in the face, you can hurt their shoulder if you're not slow, okay? That's another opportunity to come back. We can always come back here. It's extra secure now. Nothing's stopping this, okay? But we're gonna transition to the armbar. So go really slow on this one. What I wanna do first is bring my hands down towards the mat, and I'm gonna push my weight off towards the arm side and sit down. And as I sit, in a perfect world, I would get this leg free, and I would keep it down into the chest, into the armpit area, and then it would be easy to finish. I can even keep this arm bent. I can start to roll this way, and he sits up with me, and I can get him back in a omoplata. Okay, but Randa Markos did a smart thing, and she kept this leg trapped. And it was real difficult to finish like this. It's very hard to finish an armbar when they capture your leg. All right, so you could finish here, but it's really difficult. So what Mackenzie did right was she let this go off the lat, brought it toward the center. Even still here, even with perfect thumb alignment, it was very difficult to finish. It's hard to get your hips involved here. But the way that she finally finished the fight was she brought it onto the bottom hip. And that's what I recommend for all arm bars, is bottom hip finishes. They're the hardest to counter. So we take this arm, it was here, but we're gonna bring it to the center, 2 hands, and then we're gonna shift it down here. Now go slow on this one because it's a lot of pressure. When I bring it down to the bottom hip, we're gonna sit up and clamp it with our elbow, our arm into our lat. All right, now from here, all I'm gonna do is keep pressure with my top leg and the head, and I'm gonna lean my body weight towards my shoulder. Okay, try not to stop at your elbow. You're really trying to take your shoulder to the mat. Go slow. Lean, lean, lean.
Top.
Okay, that's how she finished. Again, from the top, go from here. We got to here, bring the leg over the top, foot on the mat, sit. He traps the leg. I can't finish like this, so I pass it to the center. Can't finish like this, pass it to the bottom. Sit up, trap the wrist and the hand with your lat, hook the head, and then lean to the shoulder.
Tap.